A team of 3 collaborate to create an artistic celebration of 100 years of International Women's Day. This exceptional exhibit transcends cultures and continents. So Jill, what was your inspiration for the concept of the 100 Women art exhibit and the connection to the centenary of International Women's Day?
Well, Arinthi, it was a couple of things that converged. The fact that the 100th anniversary was in 2011 and my meeting daily painter Kim Rempel. Those were converging items. But my true inspiration for following through with the actual concept of the show was the passing of my aunt, Stella Hritzik, who actually helped start Airspace. And there was another woman in my heart as well, a young lady named Aspen, who is no longer with us. And so I wanted to dedicate the exhibit to them.
And tell us about the background of some of the Canadian collaborators.
Well, this is where things get incredibly exciting. For instance, we have Alison McCreish, who lives on a houseboat in the Northwest Territories. Alison contributed a work made out of felted sheep's wool, and it's a self-portrait with Alison with a shovel, an ice pick, and a bucket. So that's what she has to do every day to get water. I mean, can you imagine? 89-year-old Grace Luke is just the heart of my heart. Grace taught at the Blind School. She taught music, and she has dual degrees, one in art and one in music. So she has now moved from the Brantford area some 20 years ago, lives in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and teaches both art and music still at the age of 89. Leslie Leong, who is in Whitehorse, Yukon, is an incredible photographer and has 2 books of the Northwest Territories, 2 coffee table books to her credit. Now that is interesting in itself, but Leslie started off her professional life as a civil engineer. So we have these wonderful stories of Canadian women. We have many more of our international women, but they are just incredibly compelling, diverse, and exciting.
And tell us about some of your partners in the exhibit and the schedule of the celebration in March of this year.
When you have a social enterprise in a small community like Ayr, it was interesting to think of who else is here. And in North Dumfries, we have an incredible transportation and distribution network. And because we were doing this fast and on a shoestring, we had no funding to do the show, I went to some people that I've known for years and I picked up the phone. You know, people would think of them, you might think of them as trucking companies, transportation companies. And I thought, why don't I call Jeff Hall or Steve Lowe? And why don't I talk to Russell Farrow customs brokers and see how they can help us bring the show together? So indeed, one of the companies is bringing the works from Western Canada. Another one of the companies, we're gathering all the works together at their depot in South Carolina, and they will bring them across the border for us. And Russell Farrow is helping us broker those things. So we have actually partnered with other economic sectors in our own community. Now that's to actually bring some of the works here. Of course, the community is involved, and we have many volunteer docents who will be at the gallery when groups come through. We have many of the other business people in Ayr that are partnering, putting on the 2 openings, one for the women themselves, special Women's Weekend for the artists, and then we have a gala for invitees in the community. Airspace isn't huge, neither is any gallery huge, so we had to think about how to introduce the exhibit to the community, and then of course it will run for 5 weeks after.
So Kim, describe for our viewers your involvement in the collaborative process of International Women Celebrate.
Well, primarily I was the networker. So Jill came to me with this idea and I wanted to be part of it. And because we had a very short deadline, we had to get the call out there quickly to the artists. And I have a blog that I've been running for about 1.5 years, and I have a network of artists from around the world that I have a relationship with, so it was perfect. So I got the call out there, and we've just, got the women to commit. And then after that, it was primarily just whatever Jill needs me to do, I'm there to help her out.
So what inspired you to be a part of International Women Celebrate?
I was happy to be a part of this project. I mean, where we are in Canada, things are pretty good for women, but that's not the case in a lot of countries throughout the world. And so I think, it's good to keep the issue, it's good to celebrate where we're at now, but we need to keep our eye on what's going on around the rest of the world.
So Jeanette, describe your involvement in the collaborative process and what inspired your participation.
I had a solo show here at the Airspace, and when Jill mentioned the show or possibility of a show for an international women's collaboration, I thought it really rang true to celebrate what women have done over the years and who I am as a woman myself. And then she mentioned, well, maybe we should do a catalogue for the show. And then I'm a graphic designer by daytime, a painter by, whenever I can. And so I said, well, why don't we make it into a book, something that you can keep on a coffee table and pick up again and again and read the stories of the women who've painted. That would just be such a wonderful gift. And so my job towards this exhibition is collaborating the book together. And apart from that, I'm one of the painters, so my work is in there as well.
And describe the variety of artwork represented from a universal perspective based on the artist's background and their nationalities.
One that speaks to me particularly is one of India. It's a woman who's painted a picture describing the story of a couple that has looked after trees as their children, and they've made a row of trees that was their nurturing. And it's a lovely piece, and it really truly is an Indian piece. Whereas there's other ones that aren't particularly, describing a home front, so to speak, but really speak of the struggles that people have come through, the joys that they've had as a woman. The stories that you read, they all speak of similar things. And so it just basically means, wherever we are in this world, whether we're living in times of great wealth or whether we're living in times where we have needs, the struggles and the joys that we have as women really binds us together.
The theme of unity, the spirit of giving are well depicted with the exhibit International Women Celebrate.